What is going on, Lucid fans? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I want to give you a good breakdown of the data points, what really happened today, and the bullish signals that's really making themselves apparent today, and potentially what that might mean. Before I get into any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. Without further ado, let's get right to it. So when it came down to today, it did close down 2.53%. It did go down to 752, but it bounced off of that very good support level. So I'm going to go over all the technicals and so forth in a second. I want to start off with the big accomplishment that was announced today, and Lucid Air wins 2023 World Luxury Car of the Year. And in general, I think this encompasses exactly why we do invest in Lucid, because their product is just next level stuff. I think it's ahead of its time in reality. And unfortunately, the only thing that's really held Lucid back for the most part, especially in 2022, has just been the management and a lot of the easy, simple mistakes. But of course, Lucid is just starting up and they're going to be making a lot more mistakes probably in the coming years potentially, but as long as they learn from them, that's, I think, the name of the game ultimately. So I think this is a very good thing, and like I said, does solidify exactly why we invest in Lucid. And similarly, who else invests in Lucid? A lot of big names, as you can see, such as the PIF, Vanguard, Blackrock, State Street, and you guys all know. But there's been a lot of things that's been coming out. And so typically when it is that time of season for institutions to disclose their 13Fs, so for instance, Vanguard, Blackrock, all do disclose it. Most likely going to be the first week of May, most likely. But as of right now, it is ETF season. So of course, you can kind of look at that data and gives you a good indication of what might be coming Vanguard and Blackrock's way. And as you can see, this is the latest round of ETFs. So for instance, as you can kind of see right here, this one stands out. So there's iShares, self-driving EV, and they increased their position 952%. And of course, iShares is very much owned by BlackRock. So of course, that's a very good indication that BlackRock overall as a whole did increase their position. And most likely as well, based on this, you do see Vanguard as well increasing their position. So I think in general, a lot of big institutions took advantage of the cheap prices of Lucid and doubled down. And most likely going back over here, I do anticipate a lot of other ones as well to increase their position, as they have been over the last couple quarters as well. So generally speaking, I think that's going to be a very good catalyst that does come near the tail end of April or potentially May. But like I said, based on this information, it is fair to assume that both BlackRock and Vanguard increased their position by a pretty significant amount. But as of right now, there's been no actual news for Lucid itself and no SEC filings. Of course, they do have that upcoming shareholder meeting on the 24th that I'm going to be live streaming. And in general, there's some things that you need to really pay attention to as far as compensation and so forth. But I think overall, though, it might be a little bit more of a boring shareholder meeting in reality. Of course, what I mean by boring, it's just not anything risque being voted on potentially. So of course, that's just my own interpretation. I'm not a financial advisor. You guys do your own due diligence at the end of the day. But like I mentioned, as far as some bullish things, of course, BlackRock, Vanguard increasing their position is fairly bullish, as is this. So shorts, I'll give you guys a quick update on shorts and what they did today. So short score is currently 85, utilization is 100%. As far as what shorts did today, they returned 100,000 shares. So in general, I see that as very bullish. The fact that for the most part, Lucid was red today, but they did end up returning shares and not really doubling down. I see that as very bullish. Whereas if you do compare Lucid to a lot of other growth stocks today were getting completely hammered by shorts. So of course, if you're going to be comparing the two, definitely makes Lucid stand out. And of course, there might be some positive things coming Lucid's way as well, which AKA might be the gravity. So I'm going to be touching on the gravity in tomorrow's video as well. But currently 144.01 million shares being shorted, 22.47% of the free float is being shorted. And so like I've said in the past, Lucid has everything on paper to have a fairly good squeeze. It just needs that good surprise catalyst. And I personally feel more so on a broader economic form as well. I do also feel that there is going to be a little bit more of a rotation out of this bear market and hopefully start to transition to bigger and better things. But of course, I could be wrong when it comes down to that. And this, I just want to give you a good breakdown of all of this. So in general, though, as you can see, there was $483,000 worth of call premiums, 658 in put premiums, with the exception of this one big candle, which of course it looks big and kind of daunting, but in reality it's only $9,000 in premiums. So it's not too significant in my opinion, but I think bigger picture, the huge amount of calls with the exception of this one right here, this put, is still fairly optimistic and very bullish. So the huge amount of calls is a nice change of events, because over the last I'd say week or so, there's been a lot of puts being purchased, insinuating that there was a lot more downside. But today seems to be a little bit more different, that in reality, I think there's a little bit more optimism potentially behind the scenes. And as well, you do see a lot more big buying that's been happening. So this is all the transactions on the secondary market, as you can see right here. And there was two fairly large transactions, 2.2 million and 5.48 million. Both were very much buys. You can tell that based on the bid and the ask, like I've mentioned in the past. And as far as dark pool transactions, I'll give you guys a quick overview of that for Lucid. So in reality, this one is a little bit higher for the overall amount of transactions, and there was one fairly large one, so $2.01 billion. But keep in mind, a lot of dark pool transactions is very much linked to shorting, so just be aware of that. And looking on the actual chart, as far as some indicators I like to look at, stochastic is currently going down a little bit. So right now 61, so it's cooling off a little bit right now, because like I've mentioned on the actual chart, it did attempt to break into the higher percentile of the Bollinger Band for give or take around the last 2 weeks. It's failed every single time. So as I've mentioned in a previous video, this is just a little bit more of a consolidation, and from here, once it does consolidate, then it can easily be able to trend up from here. And momentum number of retail investors, it appears as though, are getting out today. From you can see that right there. But like I said on the actual chart right now, consolidation today was fairly healthy, and you really want to watch these pivot points right now. So currently it is at 770, so you'd really just want to watch 736 as far as the support level. That's the S1 right here. Then there is $8.13, and that is the pivot point. And of course, as I've brought up in previous videos, if it can actually get over this pivot point of 813, then in reality it can actually get to around the 950 range fairly easily. So in reality, if it can actually do that, it's going to have a lot of good positive momentum behind the scenes. And I do think on a broader stance as well, that the market does generally want to go up. And you can tell that based on this as well. So even though it was a little bit more of a consolidation today, generally the market is wanting to continue its breakout right now. So of course, I think that will very much positively help Lucid behind the scenes as well. So once again, let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. Give yourself a shout out in the comments as well. If you've been buying, selling, holding, what you've been doing, give yourself a shout out as well. And do you think that this is a good accomplishment, the 2023 World Luxury Car of the Year? Or do you think this is just another award that Lucid is going to get, and do you think it's not going to amount to anything? What's your take on that? But once again, let me know your thoughts on all of that in the comments below. One final thing I just wanted to share with you, and that is a new promo with Moomoo, and only for April as well. So if you open up a free account, you get one free stock. Each stock is valued up to $2,000, link in the description below and also the comments. And by doing so, you do get free level 2, $0 commission. And if you have a broker account or a margin account, it is very low margin rates as well. So definitely take advantage of that, link in the description below and also the comments. And if you do want to throw $100 at the account as well, you get 5 free stocks in total. So definitely very beneficial. Take advantage while you can. And like I said, link in the description below and also the comments. Without further ado, I appreciate you guys watching. Let's all make a lot of money on Lucid.